what goes on in the streets. And finally, Tupac, your friendship with that, because that was shown in that movie. And, a lot of people like, Ham and no Pac? So talk a little bit about that. Yeah, me and Pac have became very good friends. When I first came,
see, that's the thing. Like, it's dope that from what he's saying, and in Pac's last months, he wrote songs for MC Hammer. He did a lot of different things for MC Hammer, and I think that's dope in terms of his ability to adjust and adapt. Like, people thought of Pac as one way. Like, he got a problem with you, he got a problem with you. It is what it is. But Pac was very passionate early in his career talking about MC Hammer, and the things he said could be seen as offensive or disrespectful. But he was still able to actually work with Hammer, you know what I'm saying, and kind of make him a little more, in his words and his thinking, relevant, because his mind was MC Hammer was a Sambo, somebody who danced, and he was professional, but he was successful, you know what I'm saying. He did what he had to do, and he became very successful at it. But it's dope that he was able to actually work with him.
To Death Row, we sat down and we mapped out a game plan, and Tupac actually was writing a blueprint down of what me and him was going to do together, and to the extent that he wanted to go to high schools, and when he got to the high schools, he wanted a requirement, and we were going to do these concerts, right? And it was going to be me, him, and Snoop, by the way, and some of the other Death Row family, the Dog Pound and Nate Dogg, but this was Pac's idea, and what Pac wanted to do was he wanted to give concerts at certain high schools all up and down the coast and so forth and so on. But the requirement was if you don't have a C, you can't get in. And, his strategy was going to be, he said, Ham, this is how we going to do this.
That's dope. So Pac always talked about wanting to give back to the community, to be able to be present, to do more. And this was at a time when that really wasn't happening. Now we had people come along and did do that. Unfortunately, the late great Nipsey Hussle was doing that. You know what I mean? He was doing stuff and being in the community and trying to give back. Unfortunately, he was murdered in the community he was trying to give back to, right? And you see a lot of other artists that you don't really hear from because it's almost a bad thing to be known as that person who's coming back and giving back, right? You become a target. As much as people say, oh, you don't come back to the hood, a lot of times those people are the ones that set you up. So once you get there, oh, you don't come back, and you come back, got you, they rob you and put you in a tough position. But Pac was the type of dude who wanted to give back, obviously.
I'm going to blame it on you. You know what I'm saying? This is what Uncle Ham said I got to do. And, because we don't want to mess up, the overall concept of how we get down. And I loved him for that because at the same time he said, now, Ham, I'm going to make these records for you. And I want you to speak even more to the streets from the other side on these records. And he really did that, man. By the second or third day I was in Death Row, I came in at about 10 o'clock in the morning. And they said, hey, man, Pop was there, Ham. He made you about 3 records. I said, made me about 3 records. He said, yeah, you were saying something the other day about you love skin tight, man. He's got a whole thing. Baby, back up. If you asthmatic, this track I had you going way back like Bad Habits. I heard you talking loud and clear, but you ain't saying nothing. He was rapping like he Hammer. And he put the whole thing down, man. And man, I love him for that, man, because he was a dude, man, who was so true to his word. And, man, over the course of about a year almost, we flew around places together.
So that's dope. I mean, again, to kind of touch base on what he was saying, and I'm going to go over that in another video, you know what I'm saying, where Pac was talking about MC Hammer. I'll probably do that actually in this one. I don't want to go too long, but I'm going to touch on it real quick. He was touching on MC Hammer, how he wasn't, he got love for him, he got respect for him, but he's playing the Sambo role. And if you're familiar with Sambo, it's like the guy who's non-threatening and dancing. But, a lot of times we grow up in this culture of, to be a person of color, you have to be as non-threatening as possible, and that's really difficult because no matter how nice you are, sometimes people will still see the bad in you. People see the scars, people will hear certain things, and they'll think, oh, this is really, bad, right? So, he had to do what he had to do to make his money.
We sat down and we mapped out ideas on what to do next. We made records. And we dreamed together, you know what I'm saying? And it was just devastating, when he lost his life and the way that he lost his life. And I'm so glad and elated to see that his movement, you know what I'm saying, and what he really stood for came out in the long run.
But that's what happens, you know what I'm saying? I seen a quote the other day. It said, A lie runs sprints, but the truth runs marathons. And I try to remember that when I'm under attack or people saying certain things about me that are negative and destructive and working hard to damage my reputation and say things that could be hurtful because I like to think I stand on principle. And I try to be present and kind to people. And I didn't realize, I guess I did this, I was warned, but you don't know until you're in the middle of it. You sign up for the military. People are like, yeah, it's gonna be dangerous. Be careful. In your mind, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be prepared and ready until you're actually in the middle of a gunfight. So I know how that feels. I get that.
In other words, the world was not allowed to pigeonhole him as just one particular type of rapper because he was always more than that. He was always more than that. He was always a dude destined for great leadership. He was always a dude who loved his sisters and loved his mom and his mother, and wanted to see great things. He had activism in his blood, his mother, everybody know, But remember, that's why we loved each other so much, became such good friends, because that same Panther movement had a lot of his origins right here, in the town, and the Black Panthers headquarters right around the street from my grandmother's house. So I'm all up and down and in that, and so we had a commonality in us, and rest in peace, man. But I, even in talking about it, I have fond memories, and I cherish them because Tupac was a special dude, and he deserves his history and where he is, and the mortar that he is in the game. He deserved that because, man, what was coming next, the world wasn't ready for.
It's a fact. I agree. He does deserve that status as a martyr. He was somebody who was working to actually do something important, make a change for people of color, not just people of color, but them specifically. But all people, people, Hispanic, white, he didn't care. He didn't have that kind of heart where he was like, I don't like you, but he did focus on people who were going through, which is his people, which is injustice, and I can get that 170%. I don't like injustice. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of it. I don't like people being marginalized. I don't like people being held down. Unfortunately, some people need to be. Some people need to be corrected. Some people actually have to go through some processes before they can grow to the next stage. I think a lot of times we're unaware of those things because we're so present inside of our own righteousness that we don't realize that there are other challenges to get to the next level. You have to be more humble. You have to be kinder. You have to also be strong and tough and ready for war, but also be sweet and nice as a dove. And you don't learn those things until you have the experience to do it, right? So I wanted to transition and put on a video where he actually spoke about MC Hammer. And I kind of went forward going backwards, but this is what he initially said about MC Hammer.
Can't Touch This by MC Hammer.
Okay.
He was asked what his favorite song was.
And why do you like that one?
Because it's raging and it's funky. It's funky dance stuff.
Now, okay, but there's parents out there listening to this that think he's serious. Why is the audience laughing? I want to ask you, why do so many people get on Hammer? I mean, the man sold 10 million records.
I'm not getting on Hammer, and I'm not going to say he did sell 10 million records, but crack fiends bought 10 million rocks. That don't mean crack is good. That don't mean nothing. Selling records don't mean nothing. The reason, I'm down with him because he's a brother and he's making his mail. But, however, he's diluting rap. You know what I'm saying? He's playing that Sambo role, and the reason everybody's buying his record is because he's no threat, and everybody want to see Sambo dead.
Now, that's a fact. You know what I mean? Sambo was, and maybe we'll look into that a little bit too. Sambo was a character who was non-threatening.